Hi everyone, welcome back to our live discussions on the war in Iran. With me, Ramisa Rob. I am a journalist, a Geopolitical Insights Editor at the Daily Star. Today, we will try to address some of the panic that the war is causing in Bangladesh and Trump saying that the war is near its end. But to what end? Iran today launched its most intense campaign in the Gulf. Joining me is veteran diplomat of Bangladesh, Ambassador Humayun Kabir. He's also the president of Bangladesh Enterprise Institute. He was Bangladesh's ambassador to the US during the Bush administration and also the Obama administration. I don't think he needs much more of an introduction from me. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for coming back at the Daily Star.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me over.
Of course, it's our pleasure. So I wanted to ask you first, with how do you think it's different both this war and this U.S. government compared to when you were in the U.S. and what should Bangladesh be prepared for in the next 2 years of the Trump administration?
Well, difficult to make a comparison because there are similarities and there are some, I would say, dissimilarities. In terms of similarities, if I say that during the Bush administration, I mean Bush Jr. administration, we have seen US military attack in Iraq, and then subsequently we know what happened to Iraq. And then during Obama's time as well, we have seen Libya disintegrating, and thanks to the American involvement at that point in 2011. So now what we are seeing coming from President Trump, it looks like very different, but not really. I mean, the American establishment has a tendency of getting involved in external wars. But this time, what makes President Trump's administration slightly different from the earlier one is that earlier regimes, meaning that Bush administration, then Obama administration, they used to use the multilateral facilities a lot. They try to rally different countries, build up a coalition, and then go into the military action. But this time, what we are seeing that this is more like a unilateral initiative, military initiative. President Trump, we have seen what he has done a few weeks back in Venezuela, and now my sense is that perhaps that example inspired him to do something similar in Iran. Uh,
Hmm.
but Iran is a very different case. So I think here one point is that the earlier administrations used to use the multilateral facilities, build up a coalition, but this time we are seeing more of an unilateral initiative to achieve the objective in the outside world for promoting the American interest. The second point is earlier, I think, both in Bush administration and Obama administration, they had a long series of consultations with different stakeholders, really people behind their, I would say, military project. But this time, what we saw is like I mean, not that much of consultation, not taking Congress into confidence, and so on and so forth. And that led to the discussion or some queries from the Congress. And Trump administration had to go to the Congress, then explain the situation post facto. Once it has taken place, then they went and tried to explain that. So Trump administration is very different, and also we know the United States society has also evolved now. I mean, earlier the consultative mechanism that was one of the main, I would say, principles of governance that has now got into a kind of disuse, meaning that President Trump prefers to do things on his own, and whenever he requires or it serves his purpose, then only he goes into the consultation process. So here I am seeing a leader to dominant kind of arrangement, and that's why I think what we are seeing is in Iran, the Iran war is going for now almost 12, 11 days, 12 days, but now still nobody knows exactly where it is heading, when it will end, what would I mean, a goal or objective the Americans and the Israelis have set for themselves. So, I mean, it's a kind of, I would say, very different kind of environment we are seeing. So, American administration had a history of external military involvement, but this time the involvement in Iran is qualitatively different, and
Mm,
that may have created, or I would say, multiplied the challenges. Although destruction, deaths are going on both sides. A
mm,
lot of Iranians are getting killed. And massive destruction is taking place in the
mhm,
other countries. Gulf countries are also now suffering. Israel also facing this kind of situation. So it's a mass destruction, mass kind of deaths are taking place, but
mm,
nobody knows exactly when and how it will end.
mm. Do you think Donald Trump, when he's saying his messaging has shifted a little bit, he's saying now that the war is pretty much complete and it's near its end. Do you think he's looking for an exit plan?
It looks like, because after a week, or I should say 10 days, 11 days now, he must be looking at some exit plan or exit route, because I think the idea with which the administration had gone to this venture, yeah, President Trump, perhaps this is what being discussed, I mean, in the American press, and also the political analysts are now telling that he possibly thought that it would be a short war, quick war, and then it would lead to the regime change in Iran. But
Hmm.
Iran is a very different country, very different country. Iran is an extremely resilient country. And what looks like that Iran, since Iran was under a very strong adversity for the last 47 years, the Iranians also looks like that they have been preparing for this, that one day they will have to fight the Americans or Israelis, what Israel has done in last June, and the Americans also joined them, and this time. So within, you can say, 7, 8 months' time, they're fighting two wars. And we have seen before, just after the Iranian Revolution, Islamic Revolution in 1979. In
Mm,
1980, Iraq attacked Iran, and that war continued for 8 years. And the present supreme leader, uh,
mm,
Khamenei, who has been just elected 2 days back, he was also involved as a young man during the Iraq-Iran war. So many of the leaders of Iran, whom are now leading the Iranian nation, they are the veterans of that Iraq-Iran war in 1980 to 88. So
mm,
Iran, I think, yes, for Iran, fight is, or they're ready for the fight, and what noises we are hearing now, the Americans are trying to, President Trump has said that it will end soon, but the Iranian response was that no, we are not ready to end it
mhm,
now, because what I could gather is Iran, I think Iran has given an indication today that they want to remove the shadow of war
mm,
permanently.
mm.
Shadow war means state of
Yes.
war that Iran has been going through for decades. Iranians are trying to now get over that, and
Mm,
how that would be, that would come. We don't know, but Iranians have said that they have. Iranian scholars are indicating what could be that. They want that the Americans should give them a guarantee of non-aggression, meaning that they will not attack again. Uh,
mhm,
the, the Americans should withdraw their Gulf bases from different countries. Well, the
mm,
Americans acknowledge their right for peaceful use of nuclear energy, for example. Yeah, and
mm.
compensation. They're asking that they would demand for compensation. These are tough
What?
conditions, but I think they, all these elements give a kind of framework what could come while the parties are searching for a way out of this war situation.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I found the point about compensation very interesting. What kind of compensation would Iran want from the United States? That.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's as an idea they are talking, but I don't know what it would be the content of that. But I'm sure that a lot of destructions are taking place now in Iran.
Mhm,
Perhaps Iran will put out that as a kind of element or bargaining or negotiation element. Whether that would be agreed, that would be a different thing. But
mm,
I'm just picking up the ideas that are circulating at the international media, and what, with regard to Iranian thought about what kind of conclusion they want about this
mm.
this war.
What do you make of Russia's involvement in aiding Iran?
I would look at it from two layers. At a global layer,
Hmm.
Russia would like to see the Americans humiliated, the Americans in difficulty, and they would very much be happy to see if the Americans have to go away from the Middle East, which may not happen, but I am seeing hypothetically at a global level as a part of their competition between the United States and Russia, for example. At a tactical level, I think they would love to see Iran kind of manage the situation, or at least not defeated. They can survive, and for Iran, by the way, survival would be a victory for them because the Americans wanted to remove the regime. So, if the regime can somehow survive, many people talk about that, and I also share that view that if they can survive this war, that would be a
Hmm.
victory. So it's a kind of, you can say, test of will and test of uh, perseverance or tenacity on both sides. If Iran can buy time and then continue the war, and then it would be difficult for the Americans. So from a Russian point of view, I think at a global level, Russia would like to see America weaken, and
Hmm.
definitely we don't know what kind of outcome the Iranian war will produce. But if for any reasons Americans face the difficulty, Russia would look at it from a kind of positive perspective. On a tactical level, they have two things. One is the Ukrainian war. Russia now that and definitely, Russia will try to utilize that opportunity to consolidate whatever advantage they have in Ukraine and also
Hmm.
work with the states to get a ceasefire there. And what kind of ceasefire there would come, nobody knows, but the indications are there that whatever Russia has occupied, maybe that could be the ceasefire line. That means that for Ukraine, that would be a negative thing, but for Russia, that would be a positive thing. And my sense is that the Trump administration would not be that unhappy if that kind of outcome comes into reality. So for Russia at a global level, they would love to see America weaken on Ukraine, but on Ukraine they would love to get the American help to, secure their interest in Ukraine. And here on Iran issue, I think if Iran can survive, that would create a possible space for further consolidation of relationship with Iran or between Iran and Russia.
But how long do you think that Iran can last? I mean, you mentioned the 8 years that they did last against Saddam Hussein, but the United States is historically the most powerful nation in the world. If strikes continue this way, do you see a protracted longer war that could drag on?
While for Iran to survive is not a big deal because Iran has been under sanctions for the last almost 40 years. So
Hmm.
they have been living or surviving on a very modest kind of level.
Hmm.
So, and this war is devastating Iran, no question, and I fully agree with you. The American military and the Israeli military, both the militaries are very strong, and they have the capacity to destroy a lot of Iran, and they have been doing this. But I think the Iranians would bet on the fact that, despite the destruction, if they can survive on the minimum, they will try to do that. So if somebody can survive on the minimum, I mean, it's very difficult to really push them down further. So if my sense is that Iranians are betting on that regardless of the destruction, they would like to somehow hang on and try to survive. And here, question is, Iran can try to survive. Iran may survive also, but can the Americans survive there, or can they sustain their fight for long or not? But on the other hand, I should add another nuance here. Israelis are also trying. Israelis are, I think, they can survive also. They will try to. They would not be unhappy if the war continues for some time because they want to destroy Iran, and if possible, disintegrate Iran, because that serves their larger regional strategic landscape. So there, for Iran, is an existential threat, and for Israel also, it is a kind of existential threat from their part.
Both parts. So if even if the war does end now, like in let's say in 2 3 weeks, there would there always be a fear that this closure of the straits for countries like Bangladesh, will there always be a fear that this can restart again?
Well, definitely, the war restarting. You were talking about the war restarting.
The
Oh,
war
okay,
restarting
okay. Sorry.
anytime again.
Well, I think that is the Iranian concern. That's what
Mm,
Iran wants, because Iran has been experiencing since 1980 okay,
mm,
wars one after another. So that would be one of the, I mean, a very significant point for Iran to make sure that another war doesn't come again soon. And
oh,
whenever, if they negotiate for a ceasefire, I'm sure that they will try to keep this as an important point.
mm,
And if a kind of arrangement takes place for a ceasefire during this time, I think
mm,
Iran would try to ensure that the war doesn't come again. And they have now, I mean, almost proven that they are very good at asymmetric warfare. They know that they cannot fight the Americans and Israelis up front, face to face. But they are now using that other tools of power. For example, the power of geography that they have. Number one. Number two, power of economy. They are now on Hormuz Straits. They are now choking the Hormuz Strait, and the whole world, 20% oil and gas from the to the international market is now shut, and that means that now the price of oil is going up at the
mm,
international level, putting a lot of pressure on the international community and including the United States. The Americans are now under serious stress because of the rise of price at the petrol pump. And for Americans, the petrol price is a very important element, and they always care for that, and that is a determinant of how popular the government would be or not. So this Iran is now using whatever leverage it has. It is very intelligently using its leverage of geography, leverage of economy, and these are, I mean, not very expensive. Look at
mm,
what Iran is doing. I mean, Iran is throwing some missiles and some drones in the Gulf countries, and the whole Gulf region is now at a standstill. I mean, uncertainty prevails there. Hormuz Strait is now blocked. Americans are saying that they will use force if required, but trade and commerce doesn't that cannot be run by force. I mean, now even if they say we'll give escort, but I doubt whether any oil tanker will come and unnecessarily take the risk, because they will have to leave tomorrow for doing the business. So Iran is using cheap convenient asymmetric tools to just to create a leverage for itself, and it
mm,
looks like that is creating a lot of pressure, not on the Americans alone, the whole world is now feeling the we are not a part of this war. We have no, I mean, no relationship with that, and we are having multiple areas of now challenges. Number one is we are seeing that the gas, I mean, at the petrol pumps, there's a huge line for the last few days. A panic has now caught up I mean, the bikers, the users of the petrol and gas. Number one. Number two, our economy is already fragile, so it is
mm,
more pressure on our economy, and it looks like that if the war continues for another 1 or 2 weeks, our inflation already it is 9%. Inflation will push up, so that will affect our economy negatively. Then comes there are almost I think 7 8 million Bangladeshis living in the entire Gulf region. Their security is a big challenge for us. The government has given instruction, the missions are working, but if the war continues, if the instability continues, then we have a responsibility to ensure that these people are safe, and we need to focus, give our effort to help them out. So there in a kind of additional work is there. Second point is, since they are most of them, because of the disruption in the economic activities, these people practically are without work. If they lose work for any reason, and if the war continues, unfortunately, then their remittance capacity or sending remittance would also be lost. That means our remittance would be affected. So we are in a multiple kind of difficulties, challenges, if the war drags on. So we hope that it comes to an end quickly, so that at least we get a relief. We are in no way related to this war, but we are being affected by this war. So our it is our hope that we can come out of this mess as soon as possible.
Right, thank you. So, on the note of the panic and that's coming from all the effect that Bangladesh is facing, what should the Bangladesh government do, for example, regarding petrol pumps and oil supply? What should the Bangladesh government be doing to insulate the economy from facing more negative impact in the long run?
Well, I would say short term and mid term, the government is now talking to different countries. For example, I have seen in the media that government is thinking of getting some gasoline from China. Already, government in discussion with India to give some diesel through the pipeline from Numaligarh plant in Assam. And also, I think the Prime Minister has given instruction to buy gas LNG from the spot market. But we must also remember the spot market is also going up. The prices are also pushing up. So the government has already taken some initiative. But if I go to the long term, my as a citizen, what I feel, and from our institution, we did some work on the renewable energy. I can tell you that so far we have been talking about the renewable energy, but practically our renewable energy contribution to our energy circuit is 1.5, 1.5, 2% maximum. But I think this is one lesson that we can take, that this kind of eventuality can take place anytime. So one lesson that we can take this time is how we can improve our independence on the energy security, and going or putting a lot of emphasis and really going aggressively on developing the renewable energy could give a buffer, in my view. We also know that next year, if possible, I think it looks like that it would come. The nuclear power plant would come into operation. Perhaps we can get some flow of electricity from there as well. So we have to look at the energy mix that we have, and then based on that, it is perhaps time to think about seriously about what could be our long-term energy security policy. And here we have also the gas. I mean, onshore gas is depleting, but we have some opportunities yet onshore. Offshore is also there. We have settled our maritime boundary back in 2012 and 2014. For the last 12 years, no progress has taken place. This Iran war could inspire us to look at our offshore facilities or offshore opportunity and try to build up a kind of new strategy for energy security on a long-term basis.
And regarding energy security, the energy relationships with other countries, such as you mentioned India, and should Bangladesh buy? So there's a lot of demand for Russian crude, for example.
Mhm.
Is getting refined oil through India from Russia, Russian Ural refined through India, an option for Bangladesh?
Okay, thank you. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022, at that time, when the American put sanctions on Russia, we were thinking of importing some Russian oil. But it could be gathered, I saw the report at that time, the Russian oil is not suitable for our refinery. It's thick. So I mean, even if we want to import Russian oil or Russian crude, our refinery may not be able to process it suitably. So that is one issue. But what you said at the later part, yes, we can look at the opportunity of importing Russian oil through India if we can do that, because India has been given a 30-day relief to import Russian oil by the Americans. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that India would be importing a lot. If we can work with Indians, and then we can have our share also there, and India can bring it, process it, and then Bangladesh can buy it from there or get it from the Indian side. So, yes, there are possibilities. Now, I'm sure the Bangladesh government is looking at all the options.
Thank you for that. So, I mean, in terms of diplomatic relationships right now, I wanted to ask there's been reports unsubstantiated so far about Iran granting Bangladesh safe passage to the Strait of Hormuz. Is that an option for Bangladesh, and how would that fare with the balancing great power relationships under BNP's policy? Friend, yes, master, no.
Well, I mean, I would say that it's a gracious kind of move on the part of Iran, that they consider us as a friend, and they are ready to give us that kind of, I would say, concession or that kind of support. But the bigger question is, the current situation in the Hormuz Strait is such that even they have given us some facility, finding the vessels would be very difficult. The high insurance that it would incur would be another difficulty. So I think, yes, the idea is good. We'd be very happy to have that and have our own cargo coming through the Hormuz Strait. But getting the vessels, getting the insurance companies to cover that would not be easy. But if we get that, it's a good idea, and that could give us some relief. So my position would be, let's try it, see if it works. It's good for us.
How would that impact the relationship with the US, though?
Well, I mean, my sense is that if the US can give relief to India for 30 days to import Russian oil, we can very well approach the United States that we want to bring uh, supplies, oil supply to the Hormuz Strait for Bangladesh. I think US is not opposed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that and for that answer. So I want to the last main question, the last question, not main question, but I wanted to ask about the coordination between the government and other stakeholders regarding the current foreign policy, and because as you said, we see we're foreseeing long-term impact from this war. What about, I wanted to ask about LDC graduation, and a lot of the sections of the private sector had argued during the interim government that Bangladesh's already weakened economy cannot take another catastrophic event, and therefore LDC graduation should be deferred. Do you think now it's time for to defer LDC graduation because of the Iran war?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good question and very relevant for this time. I think Bangladesh government, the new government, BNP government, has already decided. They have applied to the United Nations for deferral, and I think the committee that deals with this, they have in principle agreed to look at this request positively. So my understanding is that Bangladesh may get 3 years of deferral time, meaning that we were to graduate this year, 2026, but we may get now an opportunity to graduate at 2029. Having said that, I would also like to highlight the fact that even if we get that space from 2026 to 2029, I think we must focus on the graduation process. My personal observation is that it was more of a slogan than of a preparation. So I think now the fact that the Iran war is shaking us again, I think we should really focus on this, because graduation is not only something external, it will also require a lot of internal reforms, massive reforms, for two reasons. Number one is as soon as we graduate, we lose all our preferential accesses that we have, meaning that the one-way market access and stuff like that, and concessional loans and other things, all those facilities would go away. So it means that Bangladesh will have to renegotiate the entire set of international agreements that we have with all our partners. So that's one challenge. It's not very easy. We know how difficult, how challenging that could be during the recent reciprocal tariff agreement that we had signed with the United States. Now, graduation means we'll have to sign similar agreements with India, China, European Union, and already European Union is in negotiation with Bangladesh for GSP plus facility. So at an external level, we have a huge task to accomplish after the graduation, number one. The second part would be correspondingly, we have to do huge or major reforms in our domestic environment. For example, the moment we graduate, the moment we ask European Union to give us GSP plus facility, we have to sign all the human rights records or documents. It means we'll have to reorganize our governance structure here. We have to be more productive and more competitive to survive in a competitive world. Now, how can we be more productive and more competitive? Our economic management, our governance management, our skills management, all these things will have to be reformed and brought to the global standard to remain competitive or be more productive. So graduation to me is a huge transformation that is coming up. So I think if we get these 3 years now from 26 to 29, this entire period should be devoted for preparing ourselves substantially to make the transition. It is huge, huge work. So if you can do that, then transition would be, I would say, less pain. Otherwise, it would be very painful, even if we do it in 2029.
Thank you so much for your answer. That was very enlightening for me. And are there, some final points that you want to touch on? So for the people of Bangladesh who really are, feeling this impact of this war, and what should they focus on right now and be observing?
Well, this war is reminding us that the world outside is very uncertain. And if we want to weather this kind of uncertainty, consolidation of our home front is very important. And that requires our focus on our governance structure. And I think the July uprising has given us some indication which way to go. People's expectations now have gone up. So we need to reform our governance structure, reform our economy, and also build up a kind of consensus-based, inclusive political structure, political culture, so that Bangladesh can evolve or Bangladesh can go beyond the two challenges or two transitions that we are now facing. One is the domestic transition, characterized by the rising aspirations of people following the July Revolution or July Uprising, and then the transition that is coming up, along with the global geopolitical shift or transformation taking place. So it is time of transition. I think this government, new government has come in. They have a responsibility to start this process, and then I hope as we go along, I think Bangladesh can make a difference, and we have to think differently. We have to do things differently, and we must be ready to face the challenge with courage and determination. Then only we can stand up with dignity and with equality as a nation.
It's big tasks ahead. So thank you so much, Ambassador Humayun Kabir. We will follow your work as things unfold. Thank you for being with the Daily Star.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure and honor.
It was our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone for joining as well. And I hope that this thought you learned as much as I did from Ambassador Humayun Kabir, and that you'll join me again for another episode on this war, or hopefully that this war does end soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ramisha.